Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Devin.
And this is Biker Mike, and we are the Blue Collar Philosophers Podcast.
Yeah, and we're doing something a little different today.
Mm-hmm.
Something
we've never done. Never had to do.
Never had to do.
Yeah, we kind of said screw it to most of them.
We are doing a tribute episode.
A tribute. We wanted to do this sooner. Heck, we even wanted to have a guest.
This is not the greatest podcast in the world, but this is a tribute. So I had to throw in a Tenacious D reference.
That's good. And if you guys do not know who Tenacious D is, we have some horrible news for you.
They're still alive and kicking.
Still alive and kicking. Unlike the person we're doing the tribute to.
Who's most certainly dead.
Definitely dead. Whom we love.
Even though we've never... I mean, is it really love?
I don't know. I admire.
I think admiration is
admiration.
Is a good word.
I'm pretty sure if I knew the feller personally, I would, except for the whole vegan thing. Is it vegan or vegetarian?
I honestly don't know. I wonder if that changed over time, but
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, maybe he was a giant dick. I don't know.
Yeah,
but I know
he might have been a throbbing Richard.
As an artist in person, I admired him.
Yes, lyrically, musically, everything. Lee. We are speaking of an individual.
So, to kill the suspense, his name is Ted Kirkpatrick.
Kirkpatrick?
Kirkpatrick.
Yes.
Or Kirkpatrick.
He
admired him so much.
So much, we don't even know. Hey, you guys know my rule for last names. If you have a stupid last name, I'm never apologizing. And now that he's dead, I don't have to.
and I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Ted Kirkpatrick's dead? Oh no. Sorry, no, you're thinking who?
Who the fuck is Ted Kirkpatrick?
Yes, so he was the drummer and the main guy behind one of Mike and I's favorite bands over time, Tourniquet.
Tourniquet, yes, the band that you said was horrible live on our last episode that we were just released today.
And I listened to some of their live stuff. I was like, oh, yeah.
Stand by your statement.
Stand by it. They did a live in studio album. That's fantastic.
Okay.
But I mean, live in studio, right? You're controlling all the elements. And
yeah.
I mean, and let's be fair. Most bands that do live albums, they doctor the shit out of them.
Oh yeah, they have their comeuppance through that. They're like, we are very good at editing our shit on the spot.
They've got professional people recording it in the best possible way, all that stuff, and they still bring in the bands afterwards to like, can you punch in a lick here that didn't quite catch her, or you need to fix that vocal because you were way off key here, so we're gonna sing it again and we'll make it sound like it fits.
Or they do like 100 shows and they use the best three. And they'll splice them in a way that...
Tourniquet never had the budget for that kind of shit.
No, they never did. They were like, you get exactly what we're giving you.
Yeah, because they never had a live album or anything like that, but a lot of their recent re-releases of their old albums have come with bonus songs from like demos and live tracks, and all those live tracks, you can definitely tell somebody either had just plugged straight into the board, or they were recording it on a microphone from back in the soundstage, and what you hear is exactly what everybody in the audience hears.
Yeah, and and for what it is, like, if you want to be there without being there, that's a good way to do it.
But like, it illuminates something though.
Yeah.
About live shows. The sound sucks. No matter how good you think it is, if you were just to listen to it in the clear light of day, just in your headphones, no ambience, no crowd, no thumping bass, you'd be like, oh, I was expecting better. And I don't care what freaking band you're talking about.
Yeah.
There is something that is added in the presence of being in the live setting.
Yes. There is a element that you cannot mimic.
Yeah. And then when you remember it, you remember the band being like, I remember them being on fire. I remember them being awesome.
Every note was perfect. It was the best show. It's like the CD, but better.
And it's funny because that's how you interpret it in the moment. Like, in the moment, you're hearing everything live. You're mixing it with your memories of the CD. You're having fun with your buddies, moshing around or headbanging.
The smell, the feelings, the thumping between people.
Like, there is nothing like that thump of the bass and the crunching of the guitars
Yeah.
just transmit it over like a audience from the speakers, like that, the size of it and everything like that. It is
the
so
spirit, and the spirit of the moment, right? Like
Yeah.
this, like everyone is in tune. They're all in the
right.
same.
You don't care. Like it's a special experience
Yeah.
that cannot be captured audio wise.
And I was thinking of bands that I've gone to see back in the day, and I enjoyed them so much. Like I look back, I'm like, man, that was great. And I insert music from their albums into it with a little, a little bit of,
I mean, half
live.
the,
But
if it's a
is
band,
it as good?
Yeah.
No.
If you're if it's a band that you know well enough, chances are you're screaming at the top of your lungs the lyrics as they're going on too, right? So like, I mean, you're hearing your voice, their voice, everybody else around you.
Yeah.
It's all a thing.
Yes. So with that being said, Tourniquet, they were a band who came about in 1989, I believe it was.
Yeah. It was the late 80s, early 90s. I think their first CD dropped in 1990.
Yes, their first CD was 1990.
Which was Stop the Bleeding.
Stop the Bleeding. So good. When I heard of Ted's passing, he died
mid-August.
Mid-August, like early mid-August.
And so something that I only found out here maybe a week or two ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, and been thinking about it. I'm like, oh man, I want to do an episode. I want to do an episode, tribute to Tourniquet, because like the band's done.
Because we don't like that. Isn't that the oddest thing? Some bands, one person dies, it's like, yeah, but there's still other people in the band. It's not like the band is done. No. The only reason that the band is done or they were called Tourniquet is because you can call it Ted and Friends or
Tedniquet.
Tedniquet. It was Ted Kirkpatrick, and I feel bad for the guys. Could you imagine just being in that kind of presence of somebody that talented and be like, "We're here too. I helped. I did it, guys. I did it."
I mean, I don't want to take away. Like, everybody in that band is a tremendous musician.
Yes. But there was something about Ted that really shone. Like,
yeah.
For a long time, I thought he was, I was like, oh, yeah, he does vocals. He writes all the music and all this stuff. And I'm like, no, he's the drummer. He did a lot of the lyrics, but he never did a whole lot of vocals.
Most of the lyrics, I think he did all of them in the last half of their albums.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times he did the rhythm guitar or the bass. Like if one of his guitarists couldn't nail the riff, he'd be like, all right, let me do it. And then he would nail the riff and then move on.
Yeah. He was phenomenal. And it was one of those bands. I heard somebody say today, because I was listening to other people's take on it as well, because I wanted to know if there was something I was missing. There wasn't. From the view of a band that hasn't been around for a while. Yeah, he was a guy who he just kind of could do it all. He was phenomenal, and drumming, like he was part of a band that you could show your friends, and if they were into metal, they could hate the lyrics, they could hate the vocals, they could hate a lot of things, but the drums and the music, they were like, okay, you can't hate on that.
Can't knock that.
You can't knock that, and they're like listening to the drummer.
So how would you describe the music? I know it changed a little bit over time, but overall, how would you describe it?
I would put it in the same vein as Megadeth.
Yeah,
with that same.
But at the same time, you say that, people are like, "Oh, it's a Megadeth ripoff." Like, no, it's not. I mean, we should clarify. This is a Christian metal band.
Oh yeah.
So very, very much Christian from front to back.
Yeah.
Like in their career.
Yep.
And the lyrics, while intelligent, are very upfront about faith. It's not one of those let's say 1,000-Foot Crutch or Skillet or something like that, where you're like, if you didn't know, you'd just be like, oh, this is inoffensive, benign lyrics.
Yeah, they did. I was listening to 1,000-Foot Crutch a little while ago.
Yeah,
and I don't remember how it was going, but it was one of those songs of "Don't you step to me, don't you step to me," and then it's like,
"Hold me back, guys."
It's
guys,
like the whole.
Guys, why aren't you holding me? Please hold me back.
The next line was, "I wish I could fly."
Oh my god!
So your fight or flight is, you better not step to me because I might run away.
I might run away.
And I'm like,
dang it. For crutch, why do you have to be such pussies?
I rethought of the song, and I'm like, why? Why did you? It was like some Christian rappers I listened to back in the day, like Grits. Love Grits, great group. And they were like, they had this one thing of, you better get ready, because if you're not, well, you better get ready.
Because if you're not, well, we hadn't really thought that far.
Anyways,
that is one of the things I loved about Tourniquet was it was always incredibly intelligent metal.
Oh yeah, like musically, phenomenal.
Lyrically, everything had levels of intelligence and layers to it. It wasn't surface level.
Yeah,
which is probably why they never really made it huge.
Yeah,
like even though it's super influential, at least amongst like Christian metal, like everybody knows, like these guys are the ones that laid the groundwork.
Yeah,
you know,
they were trendsetters. They
never made bank. You know,
No.
they never went off to headline stuff, or they never reached the levels of POD or
no.
You know, like all
well,
these.
They weren't willing to suck the corporate dick, right? No. They weren't gonna tame down their lyrics. They were like, hey, we're gonna talk about Ark of Suffering when they talk about being a good steward and all this stuff. And it's like, hey, no, we're not. We're going to talk about how people are horrible to animals. And as much as some people are like, man, if you could steer away from that, that would really
Christians
help.
didn't like them either because, like, one, their lyrics were super, at times, violent or graphic.
Yep.
The music was really aggressive. And, you know, the vocals were not pretty.
Pleasant.
They were not pretty.
They were not pretty or pleasant. They were like... Oh, this is
so
odd.
like Christians at the time, like when Tourniquet came around, like that late 80s, early 90s, like Christian metal was Stryper.
Oh yeah,
it was Stryper, be all end all. Yes, there was other Christian metal bands, but
and
they
Petra
were
was
of,
like Stryper
they were
light.
of no note.
Yeah,
right. Like so, yeah. Petra was older, way older than Stryper.
Yes,
yet.
But they were Stryper light.
But like that was
like if your dad wanted to start a metal band.
I know. Like I'm trying to think of Petra is to Stryper what. Oh, let me think here. Petra is to Stryper what Steve Miller Band is to Motley Crue.
Yeah,
like it's a different world. It's not metal.
No, but they thought of themselves that way. I really do think that Petra was like, we're Christian too. Look.
Yeah.
Like, no offense to the guys. Heck, I even met a few of them. Really, really nice people.
Yeah, but Tourniquet, they kicked down the doors for extreme metal in the Christian sphere. They were the ones that kicked down the door and kept it open.
Yeah.
Without being derivative. Like that's one thing that, you know, with most Christian bands, like I'll just say it, with most Christian bands of the 90s, you were like, oh, this is the Christian version of that band, or this is the Christian version of that band. Even a band as mighty and fucking awesome as Living Sacrifice, when they started off, were basically a Slayer cover band.
Oh, really?
Well, not a cover band, but like listen to their first album. It's just simply titled Living Sacrifice. If you ever are like, it's like a missing Slayer album from 1989. Just except with lyrics that aren't about hailing Satan or you know, like mutilated corpses or things like that, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, what they were doing was being like, we want to do that, but with our lyrics.
Well, look at what Brian Head Welch did to former guitarist, now guitarist again, of Korn. He became a Christian, and what does he do? He makes a Korn album without Korn. Like it was, I liked it, but at the same time, it wasn't Korn. It was Brian Head Welch, which is fine.
Yeah, so the point, I guess, what I'm saying here is that with Tourniquet, it wasn't derivative.
Yeah, they weren't trying to be.
It was an original sound, an original band within the sphere of that late 80s thrash, early 90s thrash.
Yeah.
Like they have elements that are kind of Megadethy. They have elements that are as freaking heavy.
Yeah.
Same, like almost a similar vocal lilt as what Slayer has, but then they have like these classical elements that slip in and interesting lyrical concepts, like mixing in medical terminology and
microscopic view of telescopic world.
Yeah. Dysfunctional psychosurgery, phantom limb.
Yeah, Phantom Limb was fun. Oh,
Like
yeah.
they mixed in unique parts to make their own sound.
Yeah.
And there's no other band I can think of as like, oh, they're copying that band. And there's no band in the secular sphere that I look at and be like, oh, they sound like Tourniquet. It just doesn't happen.
No, they're like you. There might be some out there, maybe, but I don't know of them. Like there might be a band that's super smart.
I mean, like there's moments where I'm like, oh, this sounds a little Anthraxy, or this sounds a little Megadethy, or this sounds a little bit like.
But it's so talented. Like it's not for very
but
long.
it's like it's a fleeting bit, or it's just a feeling I get, or it's just a part of the style, but they're not biting anybody else's shtick.
Yeah.
And they're not riding it.
Yeah. And
like, so for anybody to listen to it, you just know like this is a band that is legit good.
yeah.
It doesn't matter if they're Christian, if they're secular, if they're Zwinglian Buddhist, I don't know, whatever.
If you know music even a little bit, you'll listen to them. Like especially if you know music.
Yeah.
Like if you have an idea of how hard it is to drum, how hard it is to put these chord progressions in this order in the way that they did, that you're gonna be like, oh, this is quite good.
Oh yeah, like I really think like in that early '90s, they could have held their own with the best of the best in the metal sphere.
Yeah.
Like,
but they
musically, like on point.
But they were unapologetically Christian in the way that they handled themselves and how way that they worked. But simultaneously, they were so Christian that even the Christian crowds couldn't handle them sometimes because they make fun of church music and they're like, no, you sell out for music. They were calling people out for selling out for worship or church music, and he's like, no, for me it's 300 beats per minute, and it's like,
oh, what is that? The one song there, besprinkled in scarlet horror.
Yes,
that's off of I think their 2000 album, A Microscopic View of a Telescopic Realm. Yeah, that's such a great line. It's like, you say this music beckons evil spirits. You know,
but I care not what you call it.
I care not what you call it. To me,
it's
just 300 beats per minute of tablature and strumming. Like it's it's just a song where they just wanted to say to the Christian folk, it's like, no, this isn't evil. It's just notes played really fast. like really, like I honestly, I've literally heard preachers say to me, like, that drums are evil. because
in Africa,
because the things in Africa, or the fact that, like, they would say something like, it
look at how it riles you up and it gets you like, you ever get that one where people tell you, like, oh, you're getting worked up.
The Bible never says we're supposed to worship God to a beat. The Bible says melody and harmony. That's it. So their music only a cappella. Maybe but at the same time, that doesn't make sense. All music has a beat.
Yes.
All music has a time signature. Even if you're playing a piano, you know what a piano is? It's a percussion instrument where a hammer hits a string.
It's technically a percussion stringed instrument. Yeah, it is
It's not a violin.
No, it's not.
It's a percussion instrument.
Yeah.
So it's just like, just if you think drums are evil, I hate to say it, but fuck you.
Yeah, you have some. Well, they're not listening. Anyone who thinks drums are evil haven't made it this far into our podcast.
Oh, I know. Sorry, I got riled up there.
Yeah.
Okay, dial it back.
All right. So, yes, like I said, this guy was very smart, and no one really knew he was, like, people knew he was sick if you were paying attention. I wasn't paying attention. He was one of the guys I always admired, but I don't have Twitter. I don't do a whole lot of social media, and I'm not in his inner circle. I heard that his wife put it out 4 months earlier that he had this thing. And yeah, before long he passed away. But
that's the thing. Like, you and me, for the most part, we admire people's work. We're not simping for them on social media.
Yeah.
Like there's nobody who, like there's
we're not riding their dick. Like
Yeah.
I don't care who
Like,
it is. I'm not riding their
there's
dick.
no blue check marks on Facebook or Twitter or anything like that I'm like, oh, I need to see what they're up to today.
Yeah.
I mean, heck, most of the things that I really admire don't have much for Facebook presence. Let's be honest. and I wait to find out about music that they're dropping or material they're releasing, and then I'm like, now I'm excited.
Yeah.
Like, like Megadeth, they just released an album here earlier this week.
Yeah. Did you know it was coming?
Yes, I did. I knew.
Okay,
I knew
knew
it was coming because Mustaine popped up on Rogan's podcast.
Yeah, that's right.
And it was talking about the new album. I'm like, oh sweet. I went and was like, oh, there's some singles here. They're pretty good. And then the album dropped. But like up till that happened, the only time I ever thought about the band was when I felt like listening to their old music.
Yeah.
It's not like I was like, oh man, I want to go read Mustaine's thought on the Middle East. or like random crap like that. Like,
and
whatever,
he would have a good thought. I got a lot of respect for the guy.
But whatever is just going on in random celebrities' day-to-day lives,
don't give a fuck.
It doesn't exist to me.
Yep.
But when their body of work comes up, I'm like, now I'm excited, waiting for it to drop.
Well, there are many bands that have been coming out with some new albums. Like Demon Hunter came out with a new one.
That's not out yet.
Oh, it's not out yet.
I think
You're
it's
right.
out tomorrow.
You're right.
Or
They've
the
been
day
releasing like many singles.
Not tomorrow for you guys listening to this. It'll be September 9th. Or sorry, yeah, September 9th, I think.
Yeah, that'll
is
be
when it drops. So new Demon Hunter.
Yeah. Wow.
Becoming the Archetype
just dropped one. I heard Maylene's going to be dropping one soon.
Yeah,
and
Soulfly just did one.
Soulfly did one.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I haven't heard those guys in forever. Megadeth just put one out. Like, there are these guys that are coming out with new...
There's actually a lot of good ones happening this year.
I don't know why, but Megadeth is one of those bands that even if I don't like their latest... Like, one of their more recent one, Antiseptic Bloodbath, I was so excited for
Tourniquet?
it. Yeah, Tourniquet.
Yeah.
When Tourniquet put out the new Antiseptic Bloodbath, I was so excited. A little disappointed. It just wasn't quite. And then there was that other one.
See, they've done
Onward of Freedom.
They've done 3 in the last 10 years. There was Antiseptic Bloodbath. Then there was Onward to Freedom, which was less of an album and more of like a
compilation.
It was almost like, how like TV shows used to have variety hours?
Yeah.
Where they were like, let's bring on this guy. Like it was Ted under the Tourniquet name, writing music, and then every song had a different
vocals
like celebrity guest singer or guitar player, but every song had a different singer.
Oh yeah.
And it was more or less his passion project to raise some money for a charity that he was involved with. Like that, it was that more than it was an album.
And that's fine. I wasn't mad at it.
So after that
they
had another real album called Gazing at Medusa.
Oh yes.
Which was not bad. My only problem with that one was like Luke Esther, the longtime singer for the band since like 95, had stepped away, and then they replaced him with a singer that I cannot stand named Ripper Owens.
Ripper Owens? Again, I like later work. Okay, so I kind of tuned out a lot of.
So again, like this speaks to the scene influence of Tourniquet, right?
Yeah.
Because Ripper Owens sang for fucking Judas Priest and Iced Earth.
All right.
Like he came in to replace Rob Halford. like that's. But at the same time, I'm like, there's just a quality about his voice that just always rubbed me raw.
Yeah.
And it was no different in the new stuff. Like, I know he hits notes and hits them good, if not better, than the singers that he's replacing.
Yeah.
But just something about the vibe I don't dig.
Yeah.
And that ruined that album for me, more or less. But the music was top-notch. Another major guy. So since about 2003, Tourniquet, he always brought on Marty Friedman to do guitar solos. Marty Friedman was the lead guitarist for the best years of Megadeth.
Oh yeah.
And every time he starts playing, like the song elevates. Like amazing that he could get a guy like that to play on every single one of his albums.
Yeah.
Just 'cause. Like, oh yeah, that's right. The best guitarist from the thrash metal in the 90s he's just a buddy of mine. He's gonna pop on the album and rip 6 or 7 amazing solos off. All right,
just because.
Yeah. So while nobody's ever heard of this band,
yeah,
unless you're like a metal nerd like I am,
yeah.
But that is just the scope of the size of influence and respect
that he draws, the respect that he draws from fellow musicians. They may not care for his stand on a lot of things, but they're like, no, your music, yeah, I'm down.
Can I please play over this?
I think I got something for that. I had a buddy who, the guy Kirk, who did our music for our intro. He's like,
Kirk the Riffer Wells.
That's right. He actually sent me some of the stuff. He showed it to his buddy, and his buddy was like, hey, can I add something to it? And his buddy was doing some stuff, and it sounded so good. And it got me excited for what our intro became, because just hearing it bit by bit being brought together, and then hearing other people add on to it and change, I'm like, oh, it's so fucking cool. So we still got to have that guy on. We intend on having you on, Kirk. We do. But summer is hell.
Yeah, that's going to have to be a winter project.
That's a winter project, and
the time change will be less too.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Because we don't change time. Everybody else does. So in the winter, we are closer in time to the East Coast.
Nice. So we're going to have you on, and it will be less of you staying up till 3 in the morning. Because you will be staying up till 3 in the morning. So musically, there are bands putting stuff out right now that just gets me so excited, and I had a little inkling of, maybe Tourniquet will be putting some out too. Oh. And then,
but the thing is, I know they were working on something. He was working on something, and I don't know if it's ever going to see the light of day.
Yeah, well,
I don't know how far along.
Norm Macdonald was working on something too, and he's like, do you know what? I'm going to fucking put it out. Anyways, and it was unpolished, unfinished work that he did. Like, he literally sat in front of a computer screen and did his whole show.
Yeah.
And it wasn't polished. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't even like, it was good. It had its parts, but it wasn't.
I know, but I mean, that's one thing though. Sickness diminishes you.
Oh yeah.
It sucks to say, but it doesn't matter who it is. When you see them when they're in the throes of a serious illness.
Yeah.
They're not them at their best self.
Yeah.
You may see glimpses of oh, there was a little bit of the old Norm there.
Yeah.
Or you may see even with my grandpa or something like that, just as he got sicker, you could tell that life force, within him was already out the door before the machine turned off.
Well, the spirit was dwindling, right?
Yeah.
It was, and it's not to rip on him, of course.
No,
but
not at all. I mean, that'll happen to me. Mm-hmm. But so
I'm going to go out in the blaze of glory and on my motorcycle. I don't know, probably not. My wife hopes not, anyways. She.
Oh, I know. That was actually my wife and I had a huge fight about my inevitable death once.
Why don't they like it? Why don't they get?
I know.
They are totally fine with death unless it's to their love. No, you're not allowed.
Yeah.
We have great life insurance. You'll be fine.
I heard a story of somebody dying in a storm because he was a senior citizen, and they were getting attacked by a hurricane, and their boat was out on their dock, and he went to go tie it off, but he wound up passing. It was a stupid decision, but it happened. Yeah. But at the same time, guy lived a long life, was at the end of it, and he went out on his terms, trying to save something he loved, and didn't have to spend 10 years of gradual crippling decline, or suffering and dying at the end of with somebody cleaning his ass, or losing all his teeth and drinking steaks through a tube.
Yeah.
Is that how you want to go? And so I said, it's honestly not that bad way to go.
Yeah.
And it's I think, when I go, I hope that it's kind of an epic moment like that. And my wife is so pissed at me.
Really?
Oh, she was like, no, don't you wish that? What? She's like, no, you need to be around every second possible that you can. It's so you would rather me spend 5 years.
Like shitting yourself and you wiping my ass because you are like the two.
Like basically being like a waste of human space just to have that extra time. Yeah. It's like, no, I don't want that. She's like, well, you better, because that's how you're gonna go. Wait, what?
She starts poisoning you.
Well, no, because that'll end it quicker than it otherwise would. She wants me to just have as long a life as possible, even if that end of it is awful.
And then as soon as you die, she just grabs a gun. It's like, that's it.
I don't know. Like, at the same
it
time,
sounds like it.
Yeah, I was thinking like that is not how I want my end to be.
Yeah, okay. So I often think about end of life stuff, and just because I find it very interesting.
Yeah.
And I even thought about, hey, what if we lived to be like 1,000? And quality of life for how long? And I think if your last 100 years was at the same level of depreciation as your last, we'll say, 5 years of life, where you're just there.
Yeah.
And your body is there, but you're not. You're not able to move. You're not able to run. You're not able to enjoy the time that you have. If your life is anything like that, I'm like, I would almost assist. I would be okay with assisted suicide at that point. I'd be like, it's either this or this for 100 years. Come on, like, of the two. But yeah, end of life.
Like at that point, you just got to start like doing more cool shit.
Yeah,
just hoping one of them ends you.
I was talking to a guy last night, and he's like, "Dude, we only get one body. You're gonna die. Enjoy the shit out of your." Well, he didn't say shit or any of that stuff, but he's like, "Enjoy your body while you still have it." And he's like, yeah, you're gonna have sore knees. Yeah, you're gonna be tired, and everything's gonna be broken. But one day you'll be dead, so don't worry about that right now. And I'm like, yeah, that's why I ride a motorcycle. Mm-hmm. That is why I ride it. I've got a martial arts tournament coming up.
Yeah,
and I'm just
you're gonna go.
Fuck yeah!
People are gonna rip your head off for fun.
Yeah, and I'm super excited because I hadn't done it. 7 years since I trained or whatever.
Oh, it's got to be longer than that.
It's got to be since I trained. So I've had a few matches here and there, but mostly just for fun.
When's the last time you did like a sustained?
Oh, it's got to be 10 years since I actually went and trained consistently.
Wait, let me see here.
Gideon's 10.
I cornered you in a fight 9 years ago.
Okay. Ooh, 2012. So yeah, it would have been 9 years because after that I pretty much folded it.
Yeah, that was the last.
That's right. Yeah.
That was right before. No, that was after Gideon yet.
Yeah, after Gideon, because your wife watched him in the hotel, and we went and had fun, which I don't know who had more fun. I thought we did.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, at that point, though, you had another kid on the way.
We had another, we did have another kid on the way, and then, life happens. Time for that shit. So, anyways, I started training jiu-jitsu again, and Buddy calls me up. He's like, hey, didn't call me, he texted me. He's like, hey, do you want to join this tournament? And I'm like, dude, he's seen me. I got the opportunity to lock a choke in, and I think he was just, you ever feel like somebody just gives it to you? Nice. Just being nice and giving you the chance and trying to, make you feel good about yourself.
That's such a weird thing. You go to get somebody and they're like, you know what, I feel like being nice to you, choke me a little bit.
Usually I gotta buy dinner first. And so, yeah, I did all right. I've been doing okay. I've still got a few moves in my back pocket, and I got my, anyways. And he's like, hey, you want to come into this tournament? And I'm like, how do you think I'll do? He's like, what are you floating at? 165? And I'm like, I don't know. So I went and weighed myself, and this is in the afternoon, and usually a little bit heavier in the afternoon. And I weighed at 163, fully dressed. I'm like, yeah, dang, let's fucking do it.
Oh man, you are almost exactly 100 pounds lighter than I am.
Really?
Yeah.
That's funny. That's odd. Mostly because I asked him, I'm like, is there a smaller weight division? I'm pretty sure I could get down to 155. If I needed to, I could get to 155. And he's like, it's 165 and under. I'm like, oh, so I'll be at the top of the weight class. I'll just stick at this point. So I might just need to hop on their scale just to make sure that I'm not skewing my numbers. But yeah. So I'm going to be hopping in a tournament again and seeing how I do. He says he's confident I'll walk away with hardware, but I don't know. I'm very out of practice. I'm just going to choke as many people as I can and go from there. Just have a good time. I'm excited. Anyways, fibrosis, as we were talking about.
But that's living life.
It's living life, yes. Riding motorcycle, getting into jiu-jitsu, which is folding laundry.
Do the crap you're passionate about as long as you can.
Yeah, and I think that's something Ted did. He did it as long as he could. Now, he died of a certain disease that we're going to... forgive me for getting this wrong, because I'm going to say it wrong because I don't speak Latin. Idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis.
Now, if you know Tourniquet at all, you would easily mistake that for one of their song titles.
So much. It's been said.
It's the first thing I thought of when I heard of it.
Yeah, it is. And you're not the only one.
It's like it's got the lilt and everything, like pathological ocular dissonance. Like, that's the song title.
That's right. That is one of their songs, and it's something about blindness. But idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis. So what happens is it's a scarring of the lung that makes it harder and harder to breathe. So imagine as you breathe in and out, it damages your lungs because you're not able to recover or whatever.
Yeah.
And
are you sure he suffered from that? It wasn't spectrophomic dementia? What about gelatinous tubercles of purulent ossification? Ruminating virulence. So I'm just reading Tourniquet song titles now.
I was just waiting for you to say Arc of Suffering. Are you sure it wasn't Arc of Suffering? Yes. So, yeah, IPF. We're just going to call it IPF. So he dies of this thing that literally causes your lungs to scar and not be able to absorb oxygen. And it starts with a cough, and then you're on oxygen. And, and it does sound, if you know him, he would have wrote a song about it.
Yeah, 100%. Because he didn't just write songs with fancy sounding medical terms just to prove how
look how superior,
how nimble his diction is, or how great his
diction.
Yes, my diction's pretty nimble too.
I love how you use a complicated word to say. Now I can't even think of the smart way of saying it. Vocabulary.
He's good at saying complicated words.
He's good at saying big words.
But he would take these medical terms and he would find some kind of spiritual allegory to fit it, or metaphor to fit it.
Yeah.
You know, and usually it was like
on point.
Very elegant and on point.
Yeah.
And like, so in the spirit of that, like thinking of this this lung issue he had. So basically, it's this type of disease that scars your lungs, and the more you breathe, the more your lungs scar. So the more you seek air, the less air you can get until you die. And so if I was living in Ted's head and was going to transform this into a metaphor, I would say something like, sin is like this disease. What is it called again?
Idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis.
Yeah, so,
I said it without looking at the thing.
Boom. So sin is like idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis in that once it infects you, it's like the more you do it, the more it harms you.
Yeah.
The more it builds in you. It
cuts off your life source.
Exactly. So when you're breathing of that source, when you're breathing sin, it is like suffering from this disease until the point where it utterly consumes you, to the point where you are stuck you're doomed.
Yeah. Could you, okay, it's a little morbid. He just died. I know. I love and respect the guy. Could you imagine being his doctor, going to him? It's like, all right, Ted, I have some horrible news. And he's like, oh, what do I got, doctor? I've got this horrible cough. It's like, you have something called idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis. And the doctor's like, he's like, sorry, say that again? Uh-huh.
I can see him just like tapping away on the drums, like trying to figure out the beat to go with that word.
Just writing things down.
Are you taking this seriously, Ted? You're gonna die. Yeah, whatever. Like, we're talking.
Could you imagine?
It's like, tell me the details. Like, how would this apply? How would this apply to your life if I was your youth pastor?
Okay, I'm gonna one up it just a fucking little bit. Let's say, hypothetically, it's possible he did do that, and the forgotten album that we're talking about that's unpolished is going to be called that. He's like, I wrote my death down.
Oh my gosh, that would be fantastic.
Wouldn't it be so good?
Your final album is titled after
idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis.
Titled after your chronic terminal disease. Metal as fuck.
Oh, so metal. And he would. I believe he would. His wife would be like, fucking stop. Oh, I hope he... I know it's not possible. Well, it's possible, but I know it's not likely. But I really hope. I hope upon hope that this is the way it plays out.
Oh, that's so funny.
So, if you haven't stopped this already and gone and listened to it, I really hope you guys do. I hope you guys...
Yeah. So, we're gonna do something that we shouldn't do, but we're just gonna do it anyway.
Yeah, we might have to edit the shit out of this afterwards, and you may never get to hear this.
You may never get to hear this because it may get pulled, but we're gonna try and put a little bit of Tourniquet music in to play out the show in place of our normal intro outro music.
Yeah.
Just to give you a little taste.
And that way
of songs that are on the top of Mike and I's list.
Yeah, they are ones that really stood out to us because when I heard that he passed, I went through a little phase of, I'm going to download all their shit because we can do that now. Isn't that unbelievable? We can just download.
I know. To think I spent all that actual money on Tourniquet.
Upon thousands of dollars on CDs. And now you can just download them all for $5 a month or $10 a month.
I pretty much bought every one of their albums up to Moth and Rust.
Yeah.
No, up to Antiseptic Bloodbath.
Oh, yeah. I think you bought that one for me one time, too. No, you brought me the Living Sacrifice album one time. You're like, hey, I heard you wanted this, and you gave it to me. I remember that. But, yeah.
Back when CDs were a thing.
Back when CDs were a thing.
Now we just randomly scroll through Spotify or iTunes music.
I like that one.
We've devalued music so much.
Oh, yeah. They are not doing as well. That's why artists have to do so much more. That's why they're doing the singles and all this stuff, because they're like, hey.
Touring until their bones are dust and they're... I'm playing metal, touring live until I'm 100 because it's the only way for me to...
I have to pay my medical bills.
100%.
So, like we said, we have nothing but love and respect for this artist.
But this is how we show love. We rip on people.
And we do. I'm like, some people are going to be like, why are you laughing so much during your tribute? All right, and there's something else. We don't make content off of tragedy. Like, if there's something that happens, we don't just make content.
Yeah, if there's, like, say, a school shooting or something like that, we are resisting the urge to do a hot take because we don't want to.
We don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that guy. The guy who's like, oh yeah, we have our opinion. Killing's bad.
Quickly get content out while it's still a hot topic. More people will listen to your podcast.
We're nearly a month behind on Ted Kirkpatrick because we wanted to have our buddy come on, which I still want to have Gabe on, but maybe for something else.
One of our buddies that is a huge
Tourniquet fan, but he lives far away, and we weren't willing to wait that long because you're heading out of town. I've got to go to this funeral next weekend, and it's just like, no, we can't wait that long.
Not all of our wishes come true.
No.
That's just, if you take anything away from this episode, make it that. Not all your wishes come true. You're welcome.
You will die painfully alone.
From some kind of rare lung disease that people will write songs about, but not because of your great valiance, just because of how cool it sounds.
I don't know why I hope so much that he was writing his own death song. Maybe it's just
art imitating
morbid.
life, imitating art. It's like a turducken of irony.
Turducken of irony. Oh, all right.
All right, let's wrap this sucker up. We're gonna play two clips. A clip of two songs. One from you, one from me. Yours is called
Vanishing Lessons.
Yeah.
Yes, Vanishing Lessons, and his is...
And mine is Healing Waters of the Tigris, and I'm going to put together a Spotify playlist of Tourniquet music and share it on our Facebook page.
And our Instagram and all that stuff, and you'll be able to find it on Spotify.
But seriously, though, like, go Go listen to their music and their platforms. We're not trying to make money off of this. If you're listening, or like internet overlords,
we're making zero money.
We're trying to give flowers and send people, expose people to some awesome stuff.
We're pushing them towards you.
Yes,
we're making zero. I can't reiterate this enough. We buy
make
our own
nothing.
beer. We buy our own alcohol. We buy our own mics. No one is profiting.
We're not profiting other people's art here.
Nobody.
Okay?
Reiterating.
Internet overlords.
Stop
you hear that?
So with that, I think the best thing to say to y'all is God bless.
And don't be a dick.